Hi, everybody. I am here with Andrew Bennett, who is one of our biggest super hosts, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how he uses Toucan with his community. So, hi, Andrew. Thank you for speaking with me today. And could you start off by introducing yourself to everybody who doesn't know you?
Sure. Hi, Antonia. My name is Andrew Bennett, and hi, everyone who's watching. I'm an engineer living in California, and a few months ago, I started an online community called Multilingual Monday Meetup. I started that group right after I found out about Toucan and realized that the features in Toucan would allow me to do something that other online platforms wouldn't really work with. I really like languages. I like learning languages. I like meeting people who speak multiple languages. And I wanted to have a way to keep my language skills alive by practicing them with other people. And I also wanted to create opportunities for other people to work on the languages they're studying or help other people with languages that they already speak fluently. And when I looked at existing meetup groups, I saw that a lot of them were just focused on one specific language and didn't necessarily have topics that they were addressing that brought a specific interest to a specific event. I wanted to create an opportunity for there to be an event where different people would come to that event for different reasons. In some cases to work on different language skills, or in some cases because they're interested in the presenter and what's being presented. And so I'll tell you about some of the features that Toucan has that made that work a little bit better than other platforms.
Yeah, please.
One which a lot of presenters don't like to hear about, but I think it's a really cool feature to have from the attendee's perspective, is the ability to mute the presenter. So you can come to an event and maybe they're talking about a topic that you're not especially interested in, but you want to be at that event because of the other people who are going to be there and because of the opportunities you'll have to interact with the other attendees. You can come into a Toucan event and you can actually reduce the volume of the presenter or entirely mute the presenter and then focus on the conversation that you're having with people in your own meeting spot or create your own spontaneous conversation circle. So another feature there that I just realized I kind of spoke on accidentally is the difference between going to an existing meeting spot, which is created by the moderator or the event host, versus the ability to spontaneously create a new conversation circle with any other attendee at the event. I'm not aware of any other platform that allows you to do that. Other platforms have existing, breakout rooms or whatever, and you can choose from them. But if you wanted to make your own side conversation with somebody else that you just met at the event or a friend you haven't seen in a while, Toucan makes that possible. You can just hover over that person, click join, and that way you don't get stuck in a larger circle with a group of people. Maybe they're talking about something you're not interested in, or maybe you need some privacy to talk with somebody one-on-one. So that ability to create, a new conversation circle, even though you're not the moderator, you're not the host, you're just an attendee, the fact that you can do that gives the attendees more control and I think makes an event on Toucan feel a little bit more like going to something in real life. Because you could walk into a crowded room, there could be a lot of people that you want to talk to, and then you could choose one person and say, hey, can we go off to the side here? I want to tell you something privately. You can do that in real life and you can do that in Toucan too.
That's exactly what we built Toucan for. So I'm really glad that you're playing around with all of the different features and that your attendees seem to find them all really easy to use. Kind of winding back for a second, can you tell us about how you initially discovered Toucan and maybe what types of tools you were using before? You said that you created the Multilingual Monday Meetup after you found Toucan, but what tools did you have in your arsenal before learning about Toucan?
Well, I had never actually started an online community before, but right before I found out about Toucan and right before I got inspired to start the Multilingual Monday Meetup, I had started to organize online events just with friends or family members, or even with there was like this workshop I was doing, and even though that workshop was mostly based with people on a Slack platform, we occasionally wanted to do group meetings, and so we would try to do it on Zoom. I think there's a lot of other tools out there that might be good for one-on-one video calls, and or if it's a really small group, right? Like say there's only going to be 4 people, then maybe it doesn't matter what platform you're going to use, because 4 people on a screen, and you don't mind taking turns. But when the group becomes larger, you don't necessarily want to be stuck on a screen full of people where only 1 or 2 people can be talking at a time, and then everyone else there is like sitting there patiently waiting, or impatiently waiting. So, I've used Zoom, I used Google Meet, Skype, FaceTime, Slack, and because I wanted the ability for this group, for the Multilingual Monday Meetup, I wanted there to be an easy way for people to go into a conversation circle or a meeting spot to focus on a specific language that they want to practice, but also have awareness of who else is at the overall event. Like, I could be in the Spanish circle speaking Spanish, but Toucan makes it possible for me to look and have it like a concept of context. Like, well, who else is here? Oh, these people are in the French circle, and these people are in the Japanese circle. And because I might want to practice one language for a few minutes and then go and chat with people in a different language, it's nice having that peripheral vision, so to speak, because I think other platforms, if you go into the one given breakout room, you don't see who else is in the other breakout rooms or who else is in the event overall.
So, because you mentioned that this is your first time creating an online community, I'm curious if you have any words of advice for community managers or aspiring community managers.
Yeah, I think I played around with a few things as the months went by, in terms of how to reach out to people and also how to make it easy for people to attend events. And even though it's a little bit more work, I believe that there is some value in redundancy. Excuse me. I initially started the group with people that I knew through LinkedIn, but I wanted to use meetup.com as a way to kind of organize the community, just because, well, for one thing, not everybody uses LinkedIn, and I wanted to make it open to people who weren't necessarily on LinkedIn. But also, I think this is nothing against LinkedIn, but Meetup does a better job of presenting you information about a group's membership, and even simple things like being able to sort the list alphabetically. I don't think I can do that on LinkedIn, and I don't know why. But so that's kind of a silly thing. But also, just that the group page on Meetup makes it real easy to see my past events and my future events, kind of in chronological order. A group on LinkedIn, it seems more like you get information about whatever you're currently posting, but it's harder to see about what has happened in the past.
Sure.
And I think there's still value in having the group exist on both platforms. I don't want to branch out onto any other platforms at this point, because that's already a little bit to juggle between Meetup and LinkedIn. But I'm glad to have that redundancy, just to make it easier for people to find out about the events. And then also, I guess if in case ever one platform went down, we'd still somehow exist on the other platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate a little bit on how one of your Multilingual Monday meetups actually would go down?
Yeah, definitely. We've pretty much used the same format so far with every event, although I have considered other formats, which I can go into later. But the structure we've been using thus far is during the first hour of the event, we usually have 2 or 3 presenters that'll give short presentations in English about a given topic. So our first event was about food and beverage. Our second event was about electric vehicles. Our third event was about art and music. The fourth event was about aviation technology. Mm-hmm. And, just like that, kind of going back and forth between something that might be kind of technology related and something else that might be more like humanities or real life related. Mm-hmm. But to get 2 or 3 presenters that talk on that topic and leave a little bit of time for Q&A. So the presentations and the Q&A are in English. We have ASL interpreters during that first hour so that the presentations and the Q&A are accessible to more people, but also so that people who are studying ASL have another opportunity to practice their comprehension side of the language skill. And then after the first hour wraps up, that's when we encourage people to go out into the meeting spots that have been set up for different languages. Now, they can actually already be there during the first hour, right, because they're set up from the time the event begins. Mm-hmm. But generally, during the first hour, most people are listening to the presentations and interacting with the presenters, through the chat. And then, and I'll be honest, a lot of the times, about half of the people that came for the first hour end up sticking around for an additional hour. The other half tend to leave right after the presentations and Q&A are finished, and that's fine because for a lot of people, a 1 hour event is enough.
Mm-hmm. But 2 hours.
That's a bit. A lot of people that. And it's interesting to see like which languages are the most attractive, or like the people that stick around the longest. Like recently in the Korean circle, and in the past it was like Mandarin or Spanish. Mm-hmm. We had people sticking around in those circles and chatting with each other right up until the event cuts off at the 2 hour mark.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, my next question is, how do the attendees enjoy using Toucan? Like, what have you heard by way of feedback from people who've attended your events or who've come to multiple Multilingual Monday Meetups? Wow, multiple Multilingual Monday Meetups.
Yeah, exactly. I think they like it a lot. It's a pretty intuitive interface. Sometimes if somebody's new to the event or like new to one of our events, I'll make a little more of an effort to reach out and tell them like mm-hmm. some of the basics. But for the most part, I think a lot of people find the platform to be very intuitive, and especially, I guess, because during that first hour, they can be passively listening to the presentations. They don't even need to join a meeting spot. Like, you're able to hear or see the presenter from wherever you are. Mm-hmm. Unless you choose to mute the presenter, you're going to hear them by default. And so that part works really well as a way to kind of get people in. And then during that first hour, they can start experimenting, like while they're listening to the presenter, they might start to hover their cursor over the different meeting spots and see, a join circle just appeared or whatever, So I think it works out well in that sense that people don't need to know exactly how to use the platform in the very beginning, and they can kind of figure it out. And especially when we wrap up the first hour and we tell people, okay, now the presentations are done. If you want to stick around, please, join us in any of these meeting spots, work on your language mm-hmm. skills. And then they see other people doing it, and then they're like, oh, wow, that's actually pretty easy.
Very cool. So, do you have any tips for first-time hosts on Toucan?
Well, one tip might be, and this could change, right? Because it depends on, I know you guys are constantly updating the Toucan platform. But right now, if people want to make it easy to find certain meeting spots using the menu that pops out of the mm-hmm. left-hand side of the screen, just keep in mind that the list, the order that the meeting spots appear in that list is the order in which you create them. They're not sorted alphabetically, and you're not able to drag and drop to put them in a different order after you've created them. Yeah. So if you want them to be in a certain order in that list, just do that intentionally when you're creating the meeting spots. So that's what I do with the Multilingual Monday Meetup, is that if a given event has like 2 or 3 languages that are featured languages, I create those meeting spots first. Mm-hmm. And then I'll put kind of like a line break. I'll do like a meeting spot for MMM. And then after that, I'll put all the other meeting spots for the other languages in alphabetical order. But because I had like 2 or 3 languages like Cantonese, Spanish, whatever, that were the highlighted or featured languages, I'll create those meeting spots first so that they appear at the top of the list.
Wow. That's an extremely specific tip. Thank you for that. What an interesting workaround. I think that's fascinating. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. I could probably think of more general tips. Also, people are always welcome to reach out to me through LinkedIn if somebody sees this video and then later has a question about hosting an event on Toucan. I'm happy to help with that.
And we'll have a little blog about this too, and we will have your LinkedIn linked on that too, cool, for anybody who wants to reach out. My final question for you, unless I think of something on the fly, is what would you like to see next?
For Toucan?
Mm-hmm.
I think I would love to see some additional options on the way meeting spots are labeled. Mm-hmm. Either, I know some people had floated the idea of being able to put an image or a graphic as opposed to the text label, or another, well, maybe changing the color. I think that's something you guys had already talked about for if you were going to do like branded colors for an event hosted by a certain company. But being able to put an image as opposed to text on the meeting spots, I think that could be a fun upgrade. And let's see, well, it would kind of be nice to be able to sort the meeting spots alphabetically after they've been created.
That's what I gathered.
Yeah, or just drag and drop, like create a bunch and then reorder them later.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. I don't know. I think maybe. Oh, I guess another one, if the option to have a built-in recording.
Okay.
And I know for the most part, Chrome, if you're using Toucan inside a Chrome browser, this is kind of already taken care of through Chrome, but it would be kind of cool to have built-in speech-to-text, auto captioning.
Yeah.
And the reason why I feel like it would be better to have it built into Toucan as opposed to coming through Chrome as like the default thing on Chrome is because when it's coming through Chrome, everybody's words are going to show up in the same box down at the bottom or wherever you position that box. If you did it natively within Toucan, I could have one box appearing next to me when I speak and a different box appearing next to you when you speak. So I don't know, but I think that would be kind of cool.
Those are great suggestions, and I already love what you're doing for accessibility with the ASL interpreters, and I think that we're a young company, but accessibility is something that we take really seriously and are extremely, I guess, what's the word? We're really trying to prioritize that moving forward. And so I think that's a fantastic idea. Same with your other more fun ideas with the images and the meeting spots and stuff like that. But I appreciate your imagination and all of the creative ways that you've used Toucan. You are a wonderful champion of our platform, and we really appreciate everything that you've done for us, with us. You come to our socials every week, and it's great to see you. Actually, one of the cooler things that I've seen you do, which I'd just like to share with everybody who's watching this, is that Andrew will sign on to Toucan. He has 2 accounts, at least. And one of his accounts, the profile picture is a QR code that brings you to the Multilingual Meetup info page. And so when he goes to an event, he'll log in with both of his accounts, and one account will just be this dummy account that has the video off and the microphone off. But when you hover over it, the QR code enlarges so that you can actually scan it with your phone and find out more about MMM. That's something that's really, really cool, that very much caught my eye, and I think is super interesting way to market yourself and advertise whatever it is that you're doing to a large group of people. So
cool. Thanks. Yeah, it's fun to play around with this platform. It's been really cool getting to know you guys from coming to the socials week after week, but also really cool to see how the platform has been developing, and you keep adding new features and upgrading. So actually, I just thought of another tip for hosts, because you were asking like tips for hosts.
Yeah.
In part based on what you just said, is that you guys recently added the feature which I refer to as like my Toucan business card, where if like somebody hovers over my name and clicks on it, the white rectangle flips around and you can see something I've written about myself, plus maybe links to my other social media accounts like LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever else I want to link to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a really good tool, especially if people are using a Toucan event as a networking event. If you can, so as my tip to other organizers would be, first of all, make sure yours is filled out as much as you want it to be, with whatever links you want to have and whatever relevant information you want to type in your little paragraph.
Yeah.
And also maybe encourage the people that are attending your events to fill that out before the event starts, if you can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know sometimes when you're getting people to sign on to a new platform, just getting them to show up is already a win, and you don't want to push them to do too much at once, but it can really just add to the experience. It makes it easier for people to connect and then continue their conversations on other platforms or in other methods. So
that's
I think it's a really good
true.
feature, but people need to use it. So
that's really true. I could not agree with that more. It's actually one of my favorite features as well, because I think that it just sets the tone for the event, in my experience, where, yeah, you could say, everybody come and fill in your profile with something silly or a fun fact about you, not just what you do for a living, but what you're interested in. And then maybe, just maybe, somebody who shows up to the event will read your About Me card, and you'll find that you're both interested in the same thing. And you can stick all sorts of emojis in there. For instance, Paul, one of our co-founders, has every single flag for every country that he's lived in order.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's just a massive, basically a paragraph of different flag emojis. And it's really, really cool.
That's cool.
So shout out to Paul, I guess.
What's up, Paul?
Hi, Paul. But anyway, Andrew, those are all of my questions for today, but I just wanted to thank you again for speaking with me. You're a fascinating human being, and I know that I'll be seeing you tomorrow at our social, but thank you for everything you've done to teach us about how to use our own platform, and also just being a tremendous teacher for others out there who want to change up the way that they engage with their community. You're a really great role model for that.
Okay. Well, making me all bashful now. I don't think of myself as such, but it has been a lot of fun. So thank you too.
See you later.
See you tomorrow.